Hey, everybody, we're live. We haven't been live in quite some time. I am excited to welcome back my longtime friend, our great Oakland, and well, not Oakland, but actually worldwide, since the NFL is worldwide. Uh, Zenny 62 media NFL draft expert, William Carroll. And we call him Bill.
Yes, indeed. Gas, phone, and electric. Just something you have to make sure that you put a check in the mail to.
Ooh, photoelectric. I like that. Oh, very much photoelectric like Arch Manning was not, huh?
He looked like someone who had thrown 95 passes in his college career. I don't know why people thought they were going to see something different. He looked like exactly like you would think someone would look like who'd thrown 95 passes in their college career. Wow. And now he's up to 125 after the game.
Wow.
He's a young player who's just started playing college football. He looked like exactly what I expected.
Sir Chai left an early comment here. Right, where was it? I got to show that. No, it's not. He must have taken it down, but he was talking about how proud he was that Black Twitter called out what white meat, right? They called out white media that was basically pumping the guy up like he was the second coming.
Well, I mean, and he might be. No one knows yet. Like, this is the thing that's so ridiculous about this. Nobody knows. He's thrown now after this game 125 passes in his entire collegiate career. I mean, think of what most people look like 125 passes in their college career. What did Elway look like on pass 125? Like, it's just silly. We've reached this age of supreme silliness where people want to make snap judgments about players who've hardly ever played. It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm wondering though. I just wonder. I wonder. Okay. That was Arch Manning's. Basically, we want to say it's his first game in stardom.
Well, I mean, he played a lot against UTSA and Louisiana Monroe. I mean, like he's like I don't understand why people. First of all, he's not coming out this year anyway. Like, people are just silly about this. It's all so silly. I don't understand why people want to rush things that don't need to be rushed. I don't even have him in my quarterback rankings because he's not going to be in this year's draft. It's just silliness. It's supremely silly.
But he was hyped as being the first pick. Oh, everybody's going to wait for Arch Manning.
Not by people who know what they're doing. Not by people who know what they're doing. He wasn't.
Right. Mr. Carroll, a number of New Orleans Saints media people said, well, they're just tanking the team for Arch Manning next year.
Well, one, NFL teams don't tank. NBA teams tank, but NFL teams don't tank. There's too many variables in place. If you've got 5 guys on the floor at once, it makes sense to tank for one because that's 20% of your roster, right? I agree. It doesn't make sense to tank in the NFL because one player is one of 53. It just is. The math doesn't work. So that's the first thing. It's just silliness. Once again, we're playing back into silliness. I don't believe in playing into silliness.
But you have to admit, and this is my point, wasn't that NFL teams either tank or don't. My point was that these media folks were using Arch Manning as the tool to say, hey, look, he is so good that he's coming out next year and the Saints are going to tank this year for him. I'm not saying the Saints are going to tank. I don't believe in tanking either. But my point is the media who are so willing to put Arch Manning on this pedestal, are doing this.
Sure. Well, like I said, I don't pay attention to that stuff because it's foolishness.
But you can't help but admit that it's in your face. You choose not to pay attention to it. Ding, got you there. But it is certainly in your face, and in mine too. Now,
I don't pay attention to flat earthers, right? There's certain things I just don't pay any attention to.
Are you saying that basically demographically they're the same, flat earthers, and
There's probably some overlap, but like I don't understand why I would invest time and energy in paying attention to foolishness.
Cute sound bites. Okay, here's one reason One extremely good reason why I say Arch Manning had to live up to that hype. Why? Jameis Winston's first game at Florida State. Boom, right here. Okay. Oh, Jameis Winston's first game, it reads, with Florida State, according to AI Overview, was on September 2nd, 2013, a 41-13 victory over Pittsburgh, where he passed for 356 yards and 4 touchdowns in a stellar debut performance, according to ESPN. He made his first start for the Seminoles and was highly effective, completing, 25 of 27 passes for 356 yards and 4 touchdowns, adding another rushing touchdown, 5, in the dominant win. That is what Arch Manning must answer to. And he did.
Well, okay. No, he doesn't. But even if he was supposed to, he wasn't playing. No offense, he's not playing Pitt. That was a solid. I saw the game. It was a solid Pitt team. About 3 guys off of that Pitt defense had about 5 or 6 years in the NFL. It wasn't a great team he was facing. This is a team. Obviously, it's not last year's national championship team, but it's a team that, because of players that have moved on in the draft or left via, the portal and things like that. But it's a very good defense. And once again, he's a guy who hasn't played much football. Like here's what I would say. When we saw Jameis had redshirted, obviously, his first year there. But there were people who were saying that Jameis was the best quarterback on Florida State's campus while he was redshirting, right? I mean, there were people who wanted him out there. And
the chosen one.
And the other thing I would point out is that's a very different kind of offense from what Sarkisian put together. And you're the one that likes to talk about, giving someone the answers to the test or things like that.
Yes.
And while we have since then, maybe moved off of thinking of certain coaches as quarterback gurus, at the time, Florida State's coach was considered one of the top quarterback gurus out there.
That's true.
And while some people might say Sarkisian is also
Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher, who, like I said, the heat has
obviously
come off of Jimbo. Yeah, the heat's come, after his failures at Texas A&M, some of the heat came off of Jimbo Fisher. But at the time, Jimbo Fisher was considered a top 3 or
folks,
4.
That sound you heard was the image of Jimbo Fisher falling just now.
Yeah, well,
what happened back
Jimbo
then?
Fisher is no longer considered one of those top echelon guys. But at the time, that we're talking about, the early 2000 teens, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, people talked about him as one of the top guys. Sarkisian at the time, had other stuff going on in his life and wasn't talked about that way. But now, things have changed. He's solidified his life, I think one could say. But still, it's a simpler offense. I'm just to be honest, it's a simpler offense. Jameis was running closer to the kind of offenses people run in the NFL.
Yep.
Right? And he had, before Kelvin Benjamin ate his way out of the NFL, he was an extremely effective receiver. They had a really nice receiving core.
Yeah.
But most importantly, you had a quarterback who was unafraid of driving the ball, sometimes too unafraid. But in that game particularly, Pitt lacked real speed, recovery speed at the corner position, right? So when you matched up those Florida State receivers and said, we're just going to go, they went 3 and 4 vert a lot because they knew that was a disadvantage. They knew that Pitt couldn't run with their receivers. Ohio State has a very different defense. They can match up and run with Texas's receivers.
Yep.
There is no, they don't have Mr. Golden or even Mr. Bond anymore. They don't have any guys who are 4.41, 4.29. They don't have those guys. They have guys who are mid 4.4 to high 4.4, low 4.5 at their receiver group. And they don't have the same ability to create separation. You add that with the fact, once again, that they were able to consistently get, limit Arch's ability to escape the pocket, which right now, as a guy who doesn't know how to read defenses at a super high level yet, he uses the ability to extend plays to make plays. He can't hang in the pocket and make plays yet. But once again, I come
that
back
begs
to
the question, though. That begs the question. If it is true that Jameis Winston, in his first game out, was receiving training at a quasi NFL level,
yeah.
then we have to ask the question, why isn't Arch Manning receiving that same kind of training? Because again, if you look at the hype machine would have you believe he's got that training and he's ready to step in the NFL right now. That's what the
See,
hype machine says.
see, here's the thing I love about pointing out what hype is. Hype is hype. That's why we call it hype. Like
Yeah.
hype doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. It holds no water. It's not factual. It's just literally hot air. It's just people bloviating about something they're excited about.
It means something from an internet standpoint. It defines the kid's image before he gets anywhere. I mean, don't forget, Zenny 62 Media folks out there does reputation management. So we pay a close attention to the words that define your image. And that's what I'm talking about, Bill. These are those words that define his image. They did, like it or not.
To the general public, right? But if you're an actual talent evaluator, you don't care about that stuff. That's what I keep coming back to. Talent evaluators are going to look at what a player can and cannot do in certain situations and just go through. So when you're watching the all 22 of the game, you're going to see, he left 3 or 4 plays, where there was possible big plays that could have been made where he didn't see certain things. So you're going to see that sometimes, there's certain sides of the field he's not comfortable working yet. And
you're going to see a bad game plan.
The game plan wasn't incredible either, right? And they had some opportunities to attack deep and then sort of were too afraid to do so. And once again, it's a new starting quarterback, blah, blah, blah. But he's not going to be the same player in November. I mean, that's the thing you have to remember. Like,
when he's going to be worse?
No, I think he's going to be better because he will have some experience. I mean, this is the silliness. This is why this is also silly. Once again, he came into this game having attempted 95 passes. That's not a lot of experience. Now he's got 125 passes, and he's played against the best defense he's probably going to see all season.
I will challenge you on that. I don't believe he's going to get any better. I really don't. And the reason I don't, Bill, is because in this age of computer technology and pattern analysis and everything else, I will say that now that they've got a book on what they're going to ask him to do, it's not going to be very different as the season goes on, but they understand now how he reacts, what his habits are in terms of footwork, yada, 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 even his mistakes, everything else. And they're going to eat his lunch. So even if they do something a little different, it's not going to get him to a point where, hey, he's posting up Jameis Winston-like numbers when he first came out. Next thing you know, we're, singing his song and saying, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to be in the NFL draft, even if he's not. Okay. I mean, based on what I saw from him yesterday, look at the one hopper. I can't put 2 one hoppers, right? I can't see it. I mean, when you're good, you're good. All right. And I think this kid, maybe next year, okay, yeah, I'll be ready for next year. But this year, training wheels.
Yeah, I watched Jared Goff 2.5 years into his starting career have a 5 interception game. You can find. I've learned not to overreact to small sample size.
But not with Cal, though.
No, he had a 5 interception game at Cal. I watched the game. Do you not remember this game?
Oh, I do remember that game. Yeah, I remember.
I have my scouting notes on that game. Now, at least there was one of those was a tip ball. Another one was the receiver, I think, ran the route the wrong depth. But here's the point.
But in fairness, he threw a lot of passes, though.
Right. But here's the point I'm making. That was when he was a much more experienced player than Arch. Here's all I'm saying is I've learned not to make decisions about a player when they are in the first 8% of their career, right? Like he's thrown, even at this point, 125 passes. By the time his career is over, he will have thrown several hundred passes, right? He'll be in the 500, 600 yard pass range. At that point, I will make a judgment. But there's no point in judging a player who has essentially played, at this point, 4-ish games. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's no sense to doing it. It's just it's an exercise in futility. You're just wasting time.
Well, okay. So where do we go from here? Where do you think is going to happen?
Well, they're going to, just like you said, they're going to analyze this game too. Texas also is watching the same tape, just so you know, And they're going to say, hey, we need to fix this. We're going to take this play. We're going to change this play. We're going to not run this play anymore sometimes. But I should also point out, they're not going to face that same team week in and week out, right? They will not see another defense that good probably the whole season. Maybe LSU, close-ish. We just saw Alabama's defense is not all that good, right? So they're going to face, at most, one other defense that good probably the whole regular season, right? He's going to look really good against some of those teams he's going to face this year. So that's why it's so important not to overreact, right? If he'd gone out and looked amazing, I wouldn't overreact to that either, right? Because the best way to be good at something is to be consistent and not be up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, no matter what it is you're talking about. Overreacting to both good and bad information on a small sample size makes you eventually look like a fool. And I've learned not to do that. So what I'm going to do is watch him play through this whole season. I think he'll play all next year too. And then at that point, I will be ready to render a judgment. It doesn't make sense to look at a player at this point in their career and try to say you definitely know what they are, because you don't. No one does. It's too early.
Okay, so why did he do so poorly?
Well, as I just mentioned, that's a terrific defense. Like, I hope
I mean, from a coaching standpoint, I mean, you'd think that, I mean, these guys are supposedly not, these guys are not sitting on a country bumpkin log, right? They're not like, oh, you know, hey, we're just going to mail it. And these guys have been around for a bit. They know how to put together a decent game plan.
Sure.
You know, they've been in national championship games.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So both sides, right, came in with some new pieces. But defenses are ahead of offenses in a lot of these games early in the season. There's no preseason in college, as people need to be reminded of that. So this is essentially a preseason game in the sense of them working out kinks. But it's easier to fall into. We talk about the defense being in a sort of reactive, because it is. I mean, defense is the position I played. It's a reactive position. You are reacting to what the offense does. But the good news is that once you have a pretty good idea of what an offense does well, you now can make them react to your reaction. And it was clear pretty early on that there were two things that Texas was really struggling with. One is getting their running game going, right? Once Texas had made it clear that neither their quarterback run or their running back run, like they couldn't consistently get, your goal is to get 4+ yards a carry when you run the ball, right? You want to be over 4 yards a carry. If you do that consistently, you have you can quote unquote establish the run, as everybody talked about for, a million years. Well, not a million, but 100 years. And then once you establish the run, now you can blah, 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 blah. All the other things you want to do on offense. Well, one is they weren't able to do that. That was the first thing, right? Ohio State's, the one question I had about Ohio State's defense was the interior. They always have pass rushers. They have a tremendous ability to develop pass rushers year in and year out. I wasn't worried about that. And their secondary is, with a few exceptions, pretty much good almost all the time. And while their linebacker core has really only one sort of definite, top 120-something pro prospect at this moment, right? Now, once again, it's very early in the process. They have enough up front and in this back end of the defense that they can, if they needed to, they could kind of cover up some of what their linebacker. And once again, their linebackers look better in coverage than I thought they would, right? Because that was my one question I really had about them, was how would they look in coverage? Look pretty good in coverage. So if you don't yet have a tight end who's a proven commodity, right? Gunnar Helm, of course, is now an NFL player. If your running backs are not great at catching the ball, and there's not yet a proven threat at wide receiver that deforms the defense, right? Jeremiah Smith deforms your defense. He forces you to bracket him, right? Because you're terrified of Jeremiah Smith. Right now, Texas doesn't have that player. Or if they have that player, they haven't decided they have that player. That they haven't used someone in a way that indicates they have that guy that demands that you deform your defense, that you alter your defensive game plan. So if you're not running the ball that well, you don't have a threat that forces the defense to react to them as a deep threat and your tight end isn't at this point established, and your running backs haven't shown they can consistently catch the ball, or once they catch it, do much after the catch. Then I ask you, what is that scares you on defense? Not much, right?
Right.
What are you to be scared of if a team can't consistently run the football, they can't make big plays in the passing game, and they can't consistently attack you in the middle of the field, right? All the things you worry about as a defense, none of those things are particularly worrying. Now you can dictate instead of worrying about what's coming at you. Now you as a defense can dictate, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing I would say to your question that you asked. And the second thing I would say is that while on the other side of the ball, Sayan wasn't at all spectacular. It wasn't like Sayan was lighting it up, but he avoided making the mistake, right? I'm going to say one last thing. They went for it on fourth down way too much. I mean, let's just be completely honest.
They did.
If half those times they don't go for it on fourth down, they might have won that game. Mm-hmm. They had 4 times they went for it on fourth down, twice deep in the red zone, and got stopped on every single one of them. Right?
That's right.
For all the things that we're picking apart, if they kick the ball either for field goals or punts on those 4 fourth downs, they might have won the game.
Mm-hmm. And why do you? Okay, so all right, might have, right? Because I have to give it to you. The defense, their defense was putting up good numbers, all things considered.
Both teams' defenses played extremely well. Actually, both defenses were very good.
They only held Ohio State to only 14 points. That's pretty good. That kept their offense in the game, even if their offense really stunk. Okay.
Yeah, well, both defenses were terrific. Actually, both offenses were pedestrian. Both defenses were really good.
Huh. So what do you think? What do you think their record's going to be? And do you think? Yeah. Do you think
the same thing I predicted preseason, 10-2? I haven't changed my prediction at all.
10-2.
That was my prediction preseason, and I'm sticking by it. Yeah, I think they're going to go 10-2.
Wow, 10-2.
I'm not going to see Ohio State every week, people. I don't know how else to say it. Ohio State's a really good team. Ohio State might not lose a game all season, or maybe a game all season. They're going to be really good again. Like Ohio State's not going anyplace. I don't know why people just assumed Ohio State wasn't going to be good. Did you see how many First of all, they did great work in the transfer portal, and they just racked up 5-star recruits all over the place. Why wouldn't they be good?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. All right. So, what will happen what will happen next year? Is Arch Manning, because Arch Manning says everyone's trying to guess what he's going to do for the draft, and then he hasn't weighed in on it yet.
Right. Well, he's going to keep his options open. He's not going to commit to anything, but I think it's 87.5% likely he's playing again in next year's college football season. I don't think he's going to be in the 2026 draft. I think he might be in the 2027 draft.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if he gets drafted, it begs the question then, who is going number 1 if Arch Manning is not the guy?
I mean, there's a lot of people it could be. I think this year it might not be a quarterback, though. A lot of people have been hyping up Lenore Sellers, and he's a really intriguing talent. Mm-hmm. Garrett Nussmeier, showed himself well. Cade Klubnik looked like Cade Klubnik. He's not bad, but I have a second-round grade on him right now. That could change, but right now he looks like a guy taking the mid-second. His ceiling is sort of Derek Carr-esque if everything works out for him.
Can you explain Derek Carr-esque, like second round? Is that what you're thinking?
I mean, Derek, but also like his strengths and weaknesses are somewhat Derek Carr-esque in that he's really good at certain things, right? He's got a strong arm. He's a pretty good athlete. And Derek Carr had a really good career. Like, I think people sort of sleep on Derek Carr despite the fact that he was playing for one, not a long stretch of his career, but at one point at an MVP level. People just memory hold that part of his career for whatever reason.
I remember.
Right. But I mean, when you mention it to people, they kind of, let's say, look it up, right? I mean, I have to kind of.
Yeah.
So
Look it up.
right. Could Klubnik get to that if everything works out? I don't think that's likely, but it's possible he could get to that level. I really think it's a good year to look at other positions. There's some really good pass rushers, right, in this draft class. We saw, Ruben Bain look like there's a lot of really talented defensive players. This is a really deep. This should be a very deep defensive line group class. There's a lot of really talented defensive players. There's a nice group of receivers. A solid group of. I think it's a deep group of quarterbacks. I don't know if there's a single quarterback that demands you take him first overall. People have been trying to push quarterbacks up the board, which I know people like to do for whatever reason. I don't have a quarterback I have in my top 10. I'll put it that way. There's a lot of quarterbacks I see, Drew Aller, Lenore Sellers, a lot of guys that I like in the bottom half of the first, but I don't have a single, top 10, 12 grade on any of the quarterbacks.
Okay. Also, I noticed that I gotta get. Well, let me just say this entirely the other way. Who is the Heisman favorite this year?
I mean, it could be Jeremiah Smith. Like, I don't know why people once again want to force quarterbacks. It's now I should mention.
But you do. You said it. Hype, money.
Well, I mean, right. But I mean, I don't feel the need to play. I don't feel the need to play into it.
Patricia,
But
Hold on a second. That's my mom. Hold on a second.
But to what you're saying, I mean, Jeremiah Smith is a person who should be considered. We saw, Nick Harbor of South Carolina. He probably won't be a finalist, but I mean, NFL scouts drool. I mean, this is a guy that literally was invited to, who's over 6'4" and about 232 pounds, who got invited to the 100 and 200 meter Olympic trials, right?
That's doing something.
Well, I mean, this is a guy that qualified, right? He's an All-American in track and field at the 100 and 200 meters, and he's 232 pounds. So,
Jeez.
yeah. So,
Jeez. 'Cause that's like
so why wouldn't you take someone like that over, sort of a mishmash of decent quarterback prospects?
yeah.
That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that there's a lot of special talent in this class. I just don't see any of the guys thus far. Once again, it's literally week 1. Ask me again in 8 or 9 weeks. But at this point, there's about 10, 11 guys I would take before I take even the first quarterback off the board.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So we've got a situation where there's one team you didn't mention, and they had an outstanding game. And I think you know who I'm going to talk about, because I only got my master's degree from the University of California at Berkeley. We clobbered, we hammered, we stomped. We did all kinds of unmentionables to the Oregon State.
Yes.
Correct. And I'll say
Correct.
it just like that.
Yeah.
Because it was so satisfying to watch. 34-15, Cal prevailed. And in the middle of it, a new star emerged. And he is this man that people can't stop talking about and won't stop talking about, at least for five good days. His name is Gerard Sewike Sagapolate. Did I pronounce his name correctly? What say you, Bill Carroll?
Jerron Kiwe Sagapolate. So
Sagapolate.
here's the good news.
Thank you. Sagapolate.
Talented, right? A talented kid. Once again, obviously very early on in someone's career to make. I'm not a snap judgment person, as I've said about 14 different ways, but you see promise there, right? You see And there was a lot of concern after Mendoza moved on to Indiana about what would happen at that position. And as often happens when somebody, has an opportunity, sometimes they rise to that occasion.
He came off the transfer portal. He was he was Oregon bound, I believe, at one point.
Originally,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But not anymore.
Right. Staying with the teams that used to be in the Pac-12, Dante Moore looked really good. But there's a lot of West Coast quarterback talent, right? There always is. And while people like to, bloviate incessantly about the SEC is not super quarterback rich this year. I like Nussmeier once again about that 13, 14 range in the draft. He'll probably get pushed up higher because he's a quarterback, but that's where I'd be comfortable taking him. I think that there's some West Coast guys who will push their way into that, first round discussion before it's all said and done. We'll see what Jaden Mayava does. Obviously, they're playing, Missouri State, so he looked incredible against them. But, when he gets into Big Ten competition, we'll see how he holds it together. I like some of the West Coast quarterbacks more than some of the guys that have been, like I said, as you said, hype. But I don't care about hype. I care about tape and I care about production. Those are the things that I care about. I don't do any of my rankings or any of my evaluations based off someone's hype.
And speaking of hype, Fernando, who was with us, Mendoza, had his first game with Indiana. Now he was 18 of 31 for 193 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and you read the headlines, and it's like he stunk up the place.
Well, he did. He didn't. He was solid but unspectacular. Worksman-like is something you might see somebody write. First of all, it's clear that they kept things pretty vanilla, partially because it's so early in the season, partially because I don't think anyone show too much, right? Because there is no preseason, as I keep saying in college football, very often in early season games, before you get into conference play, you don't want to tip your hand, right? It's different if you have to play, a national championship contender. You might put in more of a full game plan. But a lot of the teams that you saw early in the season did not put on a full game plan because they're saving a lot of their best stuff for the conference, with conference scheduling.
Sure. But still they're saying the Newsweek, of all the publications to weigh in on this young man, Newsweek headline, Indiana QB Fernando Mendoza raises red flags. Their words, not mine, after top NFL pick prediction. All right. That's what was written here. I noticed that I like how Newsweek never puts their author's name there anymore. It's interesting. It just says news article, and then it reads Fernando Mendoza made his debut as an Indiana Hoosier quarterback on Saturday after transferring over to California. The hype surrounding him was palpable. Mendoza has gained a significant traction as a 2026 NFL draft prospect in recent weeks, with Mike Renner of CBS Sports, going as far as to project him as the number one pick overall next April. Well, who the heck is Mike Renner anyway? You ever heard of Mike Renner?
I know Mike. Mike and I have known each other for a while. Mike's really a fantasy football guy. I mean, he knows football also, but his background is really more fantasy than
NFL draft.
Yeah. I mean, he's a fantasy guy. And he's a knowledgeable guy. Don't get me wrong. But, that's mostly what he's known for is fantasy stuff. And I like Mike. And I think part of this is seeking to be different, right? When, people are talking about, you have a big, giant Lenore Sellers camp. You have a slightly smaller but significant Arch Manning camp. People are looking to stake out, their own territory. So I think that might be part of it, too. And also Mendoza did more with less than the other guys did. I mean, Arch did very little because he didn't play much. But Sellers, Sellers has, like I said, the aforementioned freak show in Nick Harbor, who's probably going to be one of the first 10 or so players off the board. And there's nobody like that, obviously at Indiana. And there definitely wasn't anybody like that, no offense, at Cal, right? I mean, right. Nick Harbor is the kind of guy that you don't see either at Indiana or Cal for various reasons. He's a freak show. I mean, he's different.
Yeah, totally.
when a guy who's his size is invited to the Olympic trials, that is a rare event. But I saw the game. It was a very vanilla, very boring game plan. And once again, it looked like he and some of his receivers a little bit out of sync, as you might expect early in the season. But it wasn't like he was, missing guys by 8 feet.
But who are they playing? Old Dominion.
Who's better than you think? Just in case you were wondering, they're better than you think. Unlike a lot of people, I actually watch Old Dominion. They're actually better than you think. So, see, this is the thing when people who don't know things say things. A lot of people don't know Old Dominion. Coach Ronnie's got a good program. That's a good program. They're going to be a contender in Conference USA. That is a solid football team. And it's early. Once again, people love to overreact to stuff, and I don't. That's not my style to overreact to things. It's just not. If you're looking for me to overreact to things, I'm going to disappoint you.
All I'm saying is that Fernando had a mediocre day, but I really believe that the Indiana media and media in general looking for Old Dominion to get blown out by the new guy, and it didn't happen.
If you think, first of all, Old Dominion's not getting blown up by many people. I mean, if they played Texas or if they played, Oklahoma or something, yeah, but Indiana is not going to blow out that many teams this year. They're going to beat people, but if you're looking for blow, they're not the kind of team that's built to blow a lot of people out, first of all. Like, there are certain teams that are built to blow you out. Like, USC is going to blow some people out. They're not that good.
Built to blow you out.
But, right, because they may not be that good as a team, but they're built to blow out teams, right? The things they do well are the things that allow you to score quickly.
Is North Carolina built to blow anyone out? Will they under tomorrow night? What do we see? What do we see?
That's a great question. Here's how I'll answer that. Right. If they can get a lot of turnovers, which of course Bill Belichick prizes, right?
Yeah.
And he instituted a lot of his like classic sort of Patriot kind of stuff. They practice without wearing any numbers on their jerseys, all kinds of like he loves that whole subterfuge thing. He's a sui generis. He's one of one. But I think that if they can get turnovers, if they can generate more turnovers, because that's one of the things that they didn't do a great job of at times last year. They didn't do a great job getting teams off on third down last year sometimes, and they struggled to generate turnovers at times last year. But if they're able to do those things, yeah, they might blow a couple of teams out. They have a lot of questions at quarterback themselves. They waited a very long time to name a starter. I think they named their starter something like 3 or 4 days ago. So I don't know if that was once again just sort of subterfuge on William Stephen Belichick's part, trying to sort of hide his hand, or if they really didn't know who they liked at quarterback, but they were one of the last few teams to name a starter.
Score prediction.
I think they're going to be. I thought you were going to ask me for a season. I was going to say 7-5, 8-4. Score. That's a good question. 27-23.
Okay. 27-23?
Yeah.
That's a close one.
Yeah. Yes. Once again, it's early. Like, I don't understand why people don't like. I'm not new to watching football. Early in the season, a lot of games are close, and there's a lot of upsets. This happens last year. For those since they've been keeping track of this data, last year the underdog cashed, if you're a betting person, more than any other time on record since they've been keeping track of this data, right? So the data goes back, I was thinking, almost 30 years. So in 28 or 29 years, it was more of the underdogs came through for the people that bet on them last year than any year on record.
Okay. This
is part of what the transfer portal has wrought, right? In that and a lot of people said, "Oh, now the big dogs are going to." No. It's while there will still be some dominant programs, it has narrowed the gap, right? And so, because player movement is at an all-time high, and player empowerment, at least, is now for football finally at an all-time high, you're going to see a narrowing of the gap between the top and the bottom. And while there'll still be, 4, 5, 6, 7 programs that consistently will be double-digit win teams, Penn State, Ohio State, Texas. I mean, there's a handful of teams that will always be up there. But the gap between them and the next tier has narrowed. And the real narrowing is between those middle tier teams in the Power 4, whatever it is, and those group of 5 teams. The top group of 5 teams are right there. And if Tulane or Memphis or, a lot of those teams were to play a whole season in a lot of these Power 4 conferences, they'd go 7-5, 8-4. The days of them being beaten to death by even mid-tier power conference teams is over. It's over. If I can't tell you this clearly enough, the days of them not being competitive with the middle tier teams in the Power 5 has ended. And one of the reasons it has is, once again, the player movement, NIL, and the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm. Now, why isn't Cal's? We can agree, first of all, that Cal has a quarterback, right?
Yeah. Yes. Correct. Yes.
Right. So, having said that, are you ready to say that he should be considered an early Heisman candidate?
Well, I don't have to take you down the history of West Coast players at schools not named USC and the Heisman. Oregon and USC are the only places where you have a legitimate chance to win the Heisman from. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, if you're a West Coast player. And maybe that will change, but it has not been shown to change as of yet. There have been great players at Cal in the past who just couldn't get any traction. Going on back to guys like the Willites and, they've had quarterbacks who were fantastic, who could at best be a finalist. It's just hard. And there's still, I won't say it's East Coast bias, but there's still players, a lot of voters sort of go to sleep, at 8 something, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, especially some of the older voters. They don't see a lot of the West Coast games. So unless they can get a big time, front and center win with everyone watching against one of the top national broadcasts against a top team, that's what it takes, right? Mm-hmm. If they beat Ohio State, if they beat Michigan, they beat somebody really good in a nationally broadcast game, and he has an amazing game. At that point, he has a shot to at least be a Heisman finalist. It's just hard. It's super hard. I mean, think of all the things that some of those guys did at Hawaii, right? Colt Brennan and Timmy Chang rewriting the record book, and they couldn't even get sniff the Heisman. It's just hard for guys on the West Coast, unless, once again, they go to USC or Oregon, to get even a decent shot at the Heisman.
What do you predict for Cal football? I know you said
I think they've got a shot at 7 wins. They still have some issues on both lines, right? And they luckily were able to. I mean, once again, Old Dominion is a good defense, but they were leaky a little bit up front against Old Dominion, and Old Dominion is not the best defense they're going to see. So you worry about when they face the Ohio States, the Michigans, even the Wisconsins of the world with that offensive line. And there were some plays to be made. I mean, Old Dominion's quarterback is a fun player. Colton's a guy that can sort of move around a little bit. He gashed them at times also. But they settled in, right? They settled in and prevailed. But you could see that when they come up against competition where the talent level is even or where the talent level is not in their favor, they're going to, probably struggle a little bit. There's some stuff to be worked on. But Old Dominion is a better team than most people realize, as I've said before. Old Dominion is probably on its way to probably an 8-win season as well in their, in their conference. They might make it to a conference championship game.
Bill, this was a fun presentation.
Yes, sir.
We gotta do it again, as they say.
Well,
what was that movie? Let's do it again.
yes, let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Oh, wait a minute. Sir Chai is here. Wait a minute.
You know where to find me. I'll be here again next week.
Sir Chai says Arch Manning is trash, but it felt good sticking it to the Shador haters. Jason Whitlock will make excuses.
Yes, good old Uncle Ruckus. I'm sure we'll have something to
Uncle
say.
Ruckus. Go Cal Bears. Hope we beat USC this year as the Zenny 60. I agree. And Sir Chai says Cal Berkeley used to have players.
Yes.
Amdi, Aaron, Marshawn, Deshaun, Jared, Cam. We need to start recruiting better players. Well, we need to have better people recruiting. We got
that's part of it.
Boy was a great recruiter. Todd got those guys to Cal.
That's part of it. And I mean, obviously, you guys need to, throw a little more cash out there. I mean, that's the other thing.
That's it.
Get your NIL weight up. Those two things together, yeah, you can definitely contend.
Hey, thanks for the 2-bomb, by the way. Thank you so much. It's more than appreciated. I wrote to it. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Bill, it's been great. We will do it again soon.
Yep.
All right. Hey, everybody. Subscribe to Zenning 62. We're going to have a brand new membership program coming up very.
Yeah. And my first Saturday/Sunday superlatives video will drop at some point tomorrow after Sunday's college games. Sounds funny to say. And I will talk about some of the players we saw, some FCS as well as FBS players that we saw show, and even some D2 guys we saw show up and show out.
Oh, right. All right, folks. Bill, stick around in the background. Folks, thank you very much. And we will see you. All right. Thanks, Sir Chai. Again, thank you for the 2-bomb. All right. That ends this stream.